Welcome to the Xylo Forge. Chapter 1. The Empty House. In a quiet neighborhood, there stood an old, abandoned house with light curtains that always seemed to sway, even when the air was still. Across the street, a group of kids would often play, their eyes occasionally drifting to the eerie house. Rumor had it that a woman had died there many years ago, and though a family lived there for a while, they suddenly moved out a few months ago, leaving the house vacant, except for those haunting, fluttering curtains. One evening, as the kids played, one of them noticed something, a shadow moving inside the house. It was brief, just a flicker of movement, but it was enough to send a chill down their spines. What could be inside that house? The Shrouded Silence. Chapter 2. The Dare. The kids stood on the sidewalk, the wind rustling around them, their eyes glued to the house as if it held them in a trance. "Did you see that?" one of them whispered, the words barely escaping their lips. The others nodded, their gazes fixed on the shadowy figure seeming to pass behind the dreary curtains. The air around them grew thick with tension as they whispered about the ghostly woman rumored to haunt the place. Could it be true? Or were their minds playing tricks, feeding off their fear? Suddenly the silence was shattered by a voice. "Hey, we should go inside," one of the older kids whispered. The others hesitated, shaking their heads, the weight of the dare heavy in the night air. "Come on, don't you want to see if it's real?" the older boy said. And with that, the pull of the unknown and what they might find, the decision was made. With a final glance at the shifting curtains and each other, they knew there was no turning back. The Shrouded Silence. Chapter 3. The First Step. The night cast long shadows as the kids stood at the front door of the empty house, flashlights trembling in their hands. The door creaked open with an eerie groan, echoing down the dark, silent hallway. A chill ran down their spines as the floorboards creaked upon stepping inside. The air felt colder than it should be as the house swallowed their footsteps. Now the only sound was the distant rustling of the curtains. They moved cautiously. In the living room, sheets covered the old furniture, looking like ghostly figures in the dim light. Dust hung heavy in the air, swirling in the beams of their flashlights. But it was the hallway that drew their attention. The door at the end stood slightly ajar, a faint light flickering from within. As they took a step closer, a soft whisper echoed down the hall, calling their names. The Shrouded Silence. Chapter 4. The Whispering Shadows. The kids froze as the whispering grew louder, the voice eerie and unfamiliar, yet somehow knowing. "Come closer," it beckoned, a faint echo bouncing off the walls. They exchanged nervous glances, unsure if they should flee or follow the mysterious voice. Driven by a mix of fear and curiosity, they stepped cautiously down the hallway, each creak of the floorboards amplifying the tension. As they neared the door, the light inside flickered more erratically, casting long, twisted shadows that seemed to move on their own. One of the kids reached out to push the door open, but just before their hand touched it, the light went out completely, plunging them into darkness. A cold breeze rushed past, and the whisper returned, this time closer, almost right beside them. "I've been waiting for you." The Shrouded Silence. Chapter 5. The Shrouded. The darkness swallowed them whole, dim moonlight barely illuminating the room. "Who's there?" one of the kids stammered, voice trembling. A chill settled over them like an icy blanket. Suddenly, a soft glow appeared at the end of the hallway, revealing a silhouette standing just beyond the door. It was faint, yet unmistakably human, with long hair hanging over its face. The figure seemed to float, slowly drifting toward them. The kids tried to move, but their feet felt rooted to the floor. As the figure came closer, its whisper turned into a low, haunting moan. The kids finally broke free from their paralysis, turning to run, but as they did, the door behind them slammed shut with a deafening bang, sealing them in. The figure stopped, towering over them. It lifted its head, revealing hollow, empty eyes, its voice barely a whisper. "You can't leave now."